Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 3T Path channel, and welcome back to the Bhakti Club. And so here we are going on with our Uddhava-gita course. And now in this class we're going to reach a very important moment where we'll see why the Uddhava-gita can take place. It's a very special concept that you have to understand in order for you also to get your spiritual life going, to really start your path to self-realization. So it's a very important point, very similar to what happens in Bhagavad-Gita too, and we'll explain that today. As usual, this class will be available for 1 week here on the channel for everyone to see, but after that, if you want to see the other classes in the Uddhava-gita course, you must join the Bhakti Club, and the instructions for joining are here in the description. You can join it and see all the other previous classes so you get the whole course. Okay, so now we are now in verse 18 of the Uddhava-gita. This is our 7th class. And this is what happens. Uddhava is speaking to Lord Krishna, and he says, "Therefore, O Lord, feeling weary of material life and tormented by its distresses, I now surrender unto you, because you are the perfect master. You are the unlimited, all-knowing Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose spiritual abode in Vaikuntha is free from all disturbances. In fact, you are known as Narayana, the true friend of all living beings." It's a very important verse. Why is this verse so important? Because it is only with this verse that Krishna is authorized, as it were, to act as Uddhava's guru. Only with this verse can now Krishna teach Uddhava all about spiritual knowledge. The same thing happened in Bhagavad-Gita. In Bhagavad-Gita, it's more dramatic. In Bhagavad-Gita, you have chapter 1 and the little beginning of chapter 2, where Arjuna is just lamenting, complaining, seeing problems with his life, and he's having a panic attack, and he's like, oh, this and that and the other thing, and I can't do this, and life is this and life is that, this isn't fair, and he's just going on. But Krishna is just sitting there, listening to him, like, And then in the beginning of chapter 2, he says, Arjuna, you're saying so much nonsense. What's going on, But he doesn't teach him anything. He just says, like, what? Why you blah, blah, blah? What is this blah, blah, blah? He kind of chastises him as a friend. We'll say, like, why are you saying these things? But he doesn't start. Only on verse 7 of chapter 2, same thing happens. Arjuna then says, Krishna, please instruct me. I want to be your disciple. You be my guru. You teach me. I'm ready to receive knowledge from you. And this is the exact moment your spiritual life starts. It's only when you're ready to receive it. And this is what's happening in this verse, verse 18, where Uddhava is saying, I now surrender unto you. You are the perfect master. This is the moment. In Bhagavad Gita, same idea. Chapter 2, verse 7, that's what Arjuna says. Look, I'm confused. I recognize that I'm confused. I recognize that I am in trouble. And I see in you the way to overcome these troubles here, overcome these distresses. You can help me. So this recognition, okay, I accept that you can help me. It's when you get to this point, and you can do this with God, and then God will send you, a spiritual master, the books, things start happening. When you come to this point, you say, look, I understand that I need help. I understand that this isn't it. I'm suffering here and I can overcome this. And you are the source of the information I need, of the means I need to overcome definitely my problems. And so Uddhava understands this because he's saying, no, you're the perfect master, you're unlimited, all-knowing. And your abode is called Vaikuntha, which means, direct translation means the place without anxiety. And he says here, is free from all disturbances. Free from all suffering. So like, this is the place I want to go to. I'm in a place of suffering, and I want to go to your place, which is a place of no suffering. I'm tormented by distresses, and your place is a place of no suffering. So my place is distress, your place is no suffering. I want to go to your place. And that's what we all should be saying. We should all be like, yeah, I want to go to your place, Krishna. Your place is nice. My place? Complicated. Lots of problems, lots of distresses tormenting us every day. So this moment is a key moment in the spiritual life. And you have to open this. You have to have this humility to, one, recognize that you are in trouble, and two, to ask for help. So the moment and the key point is, you're asking for help. You're opening yourself up to receive the knowledge. And you've come to the right place with Uddhava-gita and Bhagavad-Gita. Best place, it's my opinion. But yes, the very best place to get all the help you need, all the information you need. Uddhava-gita, Bhagavad-Gita, the supreme instructions from Lord Krishna. You don't need anything else. Of course, the rest of the Bhagavatam is wonderful. But in terms of direct instructions of how to become enlightened, this is it. Uddhava-gita, Bhagavad-Gita, amazing. So this is the key moment, and the single factor is this acceptance. Why is this important? I tell my students, knowledge rings the doorbell. It doesn't blow the door down. What does that mean? Knowledge comes to you, but you must accept it. Knowledge can come to you and you can say, no, thank you, I don't want it. And it doesn't come in. You don't register it. Nothing happens. This explains life a lot. Especially the pandemic years. It explains a lot of things in life. That you can present people with clear, concise knowledge. Just is so obvious, black and white. And people they won't take it. It's right there, but they won't take it because knowledge just rings the doorbell. Can I come in? That's what knowledge does. Can I come in? It doesn't just go, ramming your door down and no, I'm going to be in your head now. So people have to accept knowledge. You have to accept it. Even if it's presented to you, you still have to accept it. It's not just, I didn't see it. It didn't come to me. That's not it. You have to accept it. And the same thing with spiritual knowledge, especially spiritual knowledge, I would say. You have to accept it. It can come to you. It's right here. Uddhava-gita is right here. It's been around for 5,000 years. Bhagavad-gita. It's just there, It's so available. But people don't accept it because they don't want to. They haven't come to this point, this key point. They haven't come to this moment, and they haven't accepted, they haven't developed the sufficient humility to open the mind and say, yes, please, I now accept it. You please guide me. This is a very important moment. Okay, so let's read the purport now. No one can claim to be a self-made man because everyone works with the body and mind awarded by material nature. By the laws of nature, there is always anxiety in material existence. And terrible tragedies periodically harass the conditioned souls. Here, Uddhava points out that only Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is a proper master, friend, and shelter of the conditioned souls. We may be attracted by the good qualities of a particular man or demigod, but we may later discover discrepancies in that person's behavior. And this is truer than ever, isn't it? This is more true than ever, because these days, like, you always find out something about the person you used to appreciate, and it's like, oh yeah, there's that. You know, there's always, it's hard to, like, in these days, you know, there's always something, right? When you look further in, you get some more information. It's like, oh yeah, well, maybe not that. Therefore, Krishna is described as anavhadyam. There are no discrepancies in the personal conduct or character of the personality of Godhead. He is eternally faultless. So in God, you can trust. We may faithfully serve a master, father, or demigod, but when it is time for us to receive a reward for faithful service, the master may die. Therefore, Lord Krishna is here described as Ananta Param, which indicates that he is not limited by time or space. The word anta indicates the termination of time, and para indicates a spatial termination. Therefore, Ananta Param means Lord Krishna is not limited by time or space, and thus will always dutifully reward his faithful servants. If we serve another other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or so-called master may forget our service or become ungrateful. Therefore, Lord Krishna is described here as Sarva Gyam, omniscient. He can never forget the service of his devotee, and therefore he is never ungrateful. In fact, it is said that Lord Krishna does not remember the faults of his devotees, but only the sincere service they have rendered. This is a great line. You know, it's very good for us because, you know, we're always committing faults. So we have this in the tradition said that Krishna will forget all your faults, but he'll remember all the sincere service you perform, so that, you know, only the good stuff sticks. That's very good for us to know. A further disadvantage is in serving anyone besides Krishna is that when we are in danger, our master may not be able to protect us. If we take shelter of our nation, that nation may be destroyed in a war. If we take shelter of our family, they may also die. And as described in Vedic literature, even the demigods are sometimes defeated by the demons, the asuras. But since Lord Krishna is described here as Ishvara, or the supreme controller, there is no danger of his becoming overcome or even impeded by any other power. Thus, Lord Krishna's promise of protection to his devotee is eternally valid. If we do not serve the personality of Godhead, we will not know the ultimate result of our service. But here Lord Krishna is described as a Kunta Vikunta Dishnyam. Lord Krishna has an eternal abode called Vaikuntha, and that abode is never disturbed by anything. The faithful servants of Lord Krishna will certainly go back to Godhead, back home for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge in the personal abode of the Lord. However, since even the demigods, and what to speak of insignificant human beings, are subject sooner or later to annihilation, what ultimate benefit can be derived from serving them? Uddhava describes his personal situation as nirvinadhi and vrijinabhitapta. In other words, Sri Uddhava states that he is exhausted and discouraged by the contradictions and anguish of material life. So this is a very interesting point. I mean, truly to have power in your spiritual life, for your spiritual life to really be your priority, you must have come to this stage where you realize, as you know, famously Queen Kunti also says, you have to be materially exhausted. That doesn't mean that you're depressed, that you're just lying on your sofa or something, you can't get out of bed. No. You can have a vibrant life. You know, you can be busy with your job and your family and your business, whatever. It doesn't mean that you're like, you know, you have some sort of serious mental issues and you can't, you know, get out of bed. It does mean, though, that even though you are apt and active to be engaged in society, you understand that there's nothing there for you. Or as I like quoting often, you have to come to the point in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali states in the last sutra of the Yoga Sutras, where you understand that this world has zero value. Zero value. So there's no value to you in matter, because you're our soul. You want love. You want all the things that pertain to the soul, not matter. So this is the situation. You just know that this is a bad situation to be in. An eternal soul stuck in the material body, stuck in the material universe. This is a bad situation. It doesn't go well at all. And you'd be much better off back home, back with God, living your life as a soul with souls in a spiritual abode with the Supreme Soul, God, next to you. You just understand that. In that sense, you have to like come to this conclusion. You have to be certain of this conclusion, that there is no material solution. There's no place in the material realm, anywhere in the universe, where you'll be, you know, permanently happy and free from distress. There is no such place. There is no such time. Always there's distress. Always there are problems. Always. And when you come to this profound realization, then you prioritize your spiritual life. Then you can start your spiritual life. He has been forced, therefore, to become humble and surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna, the personal friend of every living entity. So this expression, he has been forced, therefore, it doesn't sound nice, like nobody wants to be forced, but forced in the good sense, like, you know, when you come to your senses and you say, yes, of course, now I have to do this right thing. Oh, of course, I have to stop using drugs. Of course, I have to be a good person. Like you're forced to this, like the right path, in that good sense where you've just seen how much suffering there is in not doing the right thing. So then he's like, yes, I have to do the right thing. This is the best course of action for me. In the material world, a great person does not have time for insignificant people. But although the Lord is the greatest person, he sits in the heart of every living entity. Thus, he is the most merciful. Lord Krishna is the ultimate shelter of even Nara, or the Lord's Purusha expansion, who creates the material world. The living entity is called Nara, and the source of his material situation is Nara, with a capital N, or Mahavishnu. The word Narayana indicates that even Mahavishnu is the expansion of God, from whom all the universes emanate. Just so you understand the cosmological vision here implied. The living entity is called Nara, small n, and the source of his material situation is Nara, large N, capital letter, or Mahavishnu. The word Narayana indicates that even Mahavishnu finds his shelter in Krishna, who is certainly supreme. Although our consciousness is presently contaminated by sinful propensities, if we follow the example of Sri Uddhava and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, everything can be rectified. Taking shelter of Krishna means taking shelter of devotional service to Krishna. This is a very important point. What does this mean, to take shelter of Krishna? What does it mean? It means you're actively engaged. Action. This shelter is active. You actively engage in bhakti and following, yoga and the 3T path. You actively engaged in this mode. It's not just a mental thing like, oh, I accept, one day I did a ritual. No, it's an active thing throughout the day, all day long. This is what it means to take shelter of Krishna. It's an active thing you'll do for all day long, the rest of your life. This is what you're doing. You're purposely serving, doing your dharma as a loving offering to Krishna in the here and now, always thinking of Krishna, offering your life as service to Krishna. Means taking shelter of devotional service to Krishna and obeying Him. Lord Krishna demands this in Bhagavad-Gita, and if we comply with the order of the Lord, our life can become fully auspicious and successful sooner than we expect. We may, by Krishna's mercy, enter the kingdom of God for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. So, what does it mean to obey? Like, it sounds terrible in today's culture. Oh, nobody wants to obey anyone. I'm the master of myself. We're so full of ourselves. So much pride is one of the main characteristics of today's culture. Like, lots of pride, lots of me. It's definitely the me culture. It's all about me and the selfies, and it's all me. So what does it mean to obey? It sounds terrible. Like, oh, who wants that? That sounds like poison. But interestingly, that's exactly what Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita. The things in sattva seem like poison at the beginning, and then they transform into nectar. And the things of Rajaguna, of the mode of passion, they seem like nectar at the beginning, but then they're transformed into poison. So, though it sounds bad for like, oh no, I don't want to obey God. No, I want everybody to obey me, But actually, no, it's actually really nice, because Krishna, when He obeys us, when he instructs us, He's just giving us the best instructions. Like when somebody gives you like really good knowledge that makes your life better, makes you wealthier, healthier, happier. So when you obey that instruction, it's awesome, right? It's like that's what you wanted. Or you wanted that instruction. It just made your life so much better. This is exactly what happens when you obey Krishna. It's not like oh God, He's telling me I'm a slave. It's not like a bad thing. It's like this is all the good stuff. This is how your life just gets better and better. Everything in your life gets better. So it works really well, though it sounds, bad to our culture, to our ears these days. Okay, so verse 19. So this is it. Now, Uddhava has put in the request, now officially he's like, people talk about initiations. There's really no such thing as spiritual initiation. This is how it happens. If you look at all the holy texts, Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, this is always how it happens. A natural thing where the person comes up and says, please, can you instruct me? I want to hear from you. These days, you'd click on my Bhagavad-Gita course. Yes, I want to hear from you. Or you click and you join the Bhakti Club. That's all it's saying here. I want to hear from you. I accept that you are a source of knowledge, that you can help me. That's all it takes. It's not like, some weird cultish thing. It doesn't have to be weird, a ritual, and I'll give you this name. No, these things are artificial. This is what it means. Right now, you just saw live, Uddhava being initiated because he was ready for it. Krishna was always ready. The master is always ready. That's what he does. But then the disciple has to come and say, yes, I accept, I've studied, I've looked around, and the information I can trust you. I'm gonna, I'll take the first step. I'll say, I'll go for it. I'll sign up. So this is like, this is the first step. And then let's see what you're gonna bring to my life. But I am opening up. I am ready. Your mind is open to receive knowledge. Remember, you have the knowledge, and when you ring my doorbell, I will open. My door is open. My mind is open to receive this knowledge. That's how it happens. Just a natural, organic process. No weird things, no cultish things. You don't have to come, you don't have to drool, you don't have to become a minion. No weird things. Just receive the knowledge, obey Krishna, take the knowledge in, practice it, put it in action, execute the knowledge, and then see the results. That's all it is. Just practice, feel it, and then get more. And then you start spreading it. This is the system. Okay, this is a spiritual initiation, the original, true, organic method of spiritual initiation. So here we go. Verse 19. The Supreme Lord replied, generally, those human beings who can expertly analyze the actual situation of the material world are able to raise themselves beyond the inauspicious life of gross material gratification. So the first thing Krishna says after receiving these beautiful prayers from Uddhava is that he says, generally, people, can raise themselves beyond gross material gratification, beyond being like just a stupid, hedonistic, selfish loser, basically, is what he's saying. So people are able to raise themselves beyond that point. Purport. Sri Uddhava expressed to the Lord in the previous verses his fallen condition and his entanglement in the material concept of life. Now Lord Krishna reassures Uddhava that even persons far less qualified than Uddhava are able to extricate themselves from the inauspicious life of material gratification. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, even if one has not received the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, one can understand by direct and indirect analysis that the material world is not a place of enjoyment. Direct analysis means one's personal experiences, and indirect analysis means hearing and reading of the experience of others. So, Krishna is saying, look, Uddhava, people much worse off than you, with much less abilities and understanding and wisdom, they managed to, help themselves out. So, you're going to be okay. So the first thing is, yes, everything's going to be okay. In Bhagavad-Gita, similar thing. The first thing Krishna does when Arjuna takes shelter of Krishna and asks him to be guru, the first thing Krishna does is smile. A smile, just a smile. And then he starts instructing. But the first thing is a smile. So the Krishna is very nice. He's always like, yeah, as soon as you come to me, everything's going to work out. So he just starts with the good news, the positive good news right away. And in case you're wondering, Srila Sridhar Swami, he is the most ancient comments on the Srimad Bhagavatam were written by Sridhar Swami. So he's the oldest commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we have this, that we have available. And so his comments are, if I'm not mistaken, about 800 to 900 years old. And we have those were preserved. So it's very interesting that we have not only the Bhagavatam preserved, but these commentaries preserved. So that gives a lot of structure and a lot of validity to the tradition. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this is a spiritual master now from the 17th century, 18th century. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Lord Krishna considered Uddhava to be more intelligent than even the demigods in heaven. So Uddhava was very intelligent. Krishna says that he's the most intelligent person in the planet. Can you imagine God giving you never mind Mensa, God giving you a certificate, no, you're the most intelligent person on the planet. So Uddhava was that person. Uddhava, however, was feeling discouraged, thinking himself unqualified to render devotional service to the Lord. But Uddhava was actually perfectly situated because he had achieved Lord Krishna as his personal spiritual master. Similarly, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are guided by the instructions of the Society's founder Acharya, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Shat Sri Srimad I.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Therefore, a sincere member of the Krishna consciousness movement should never feel discouraged, but should rather count his or her blessings and do the needful to go back home, back to Godhead. Within the material world, certain activities are auspicious and produce happiness, whereas other activities, being sinful, are inauspicious and cause unlimited suffering. Even one who has not yet received the complete mercy of the bona fide Krishna consciousness, Krishna conscious spiritual master, should conclude by sharp intelligence that there is no happiness in ordinary material life, and that the real self-interest lies beyond the material platform. And it's a lot of you could be in this stage now, a lot of you who are at least having this kind of channel being recommended to you, you're coming here, you're coming to this point after all these lifetimes. This is when your spiritual life can start, because after all these lifetimes, you're noticing, you're perceiving, you're looking around, again, direct experience, indirect, you're reading about it, and you're like, man, I don't think the solution to my problems are available on the material platform. I don't think it's a matter of just money and house, or even the planet I live in, or the body I have. I don't think that's it. I think there's something else, and there is. So then you come to this, because no, I have to go beyond, and then that's when you start your spiritual journey, your spiritual inquiries. And then you inquire, you look around, but then you have to come to the point of the last verse where you say, no, this is it. This is it. I found it here. Krishna, Uddhava-gita, you're coming to me, you're explaining to me, you specifically, okay, I'm ready now. Now I'm ready. So you have to come to this point, and then your spiritual life takes off. Like a rocket, it just takes off. I mean, I've had that, so many people, my students, it just, every generation, over the millennia, this is how it happens. This is exactly how it happens. Once you've done your shopping around and you found your path and you go for it, your mind opens, your heart opens, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And you start practicing, and you take the instructions of a good, clear-minded spiritual master, and then you can just take off with your spiritual life. Srila Madhavacharya, another spiritual master in our tradition, points out that even if one is expert not only in material knowledge, but also in spiritual knowledge, one will enter into the darkness of ignorance if one neglects the association of the devotees of the Lord. Because you have to go beyond just knowledge, you have to have this kind of direct sangha contact. That's why one of the nice things I have my students, they join my Bhagavad-Gita course. We have a WhatsApp group, so then they're together there, and we have a little sangha. We meet every month on Zoom, so this kind of sangha, this kind of encounter, it's very important, because then you have this association, you share experiences, you share encouragement, you overcome your troubles together. Therefore, one should not misinterpret this verse in a way that minimizes the significance of the pure devotee spiritual master. One who is vichakshana, or expert, will eventually come to understand the difference between matter and spirit. Such a person will certainly recognize and appreciate a genuine spiritual master. One who is advanced in knowledge undoubtedly becomes humble, and thus an expert, advanced human will never neglect the lotus feet of the pure devotees of the Lord. Okay, so one more verse. Krishna says, verse 20, An intelligent person, expert in perceiving the world around him and in applying sound logic, can achieve real benefit through his own intelligence. Thus, sometimes one acts as one's own instructing spiritual master. What a great verse. What a great verse. One's own instructing spiritual master. So the idea here is that you have to become your own spiritual master. People think, you can't just, it's like you don't just hang on to your spiritual master forever. You have to become your own spiritual master. You have to use your intelligence. That's what the spiritual master is doing. It's training you to use your intelligence. So you can perceive things as they are, so you can understand, so you can constantly teach yourself and uplift yourself. So this is definitely something we all have to do as well. So this person is expert in perceiving the world around him and in applying sound logic. Yoga is going to give you clear-mindedness. It's going to give you rational thought. You're going to interpret life correctly. You're going to see things. That's sattva. Sattva does that to you. The lifestyle of yoga in sattva gives you this clarity of mind. It's one of the things I love the most about yoga. Clear mind. So you see things as they are, and then you can easily perceive what's right, what's wrong, the path, what's good. You can see, so you don't keep falling in the same traps and making the same mistakes and suffering uselessly. Very important. Purport. As illustrated in this chapter by the conversation between King Yadu and the Avaduta, this is going to happen later. Soon it's going to happen. It's coming to the Uddhava-gita. A sensitive, reasonable person can acquire real knowledge and happiness simply by carefully observing the world around him. By observing the happiness and distress of other living entities, one can understand what is beneficial and what is destructive. Srila Jiva Goswami states in this connection, Guru Anusarane Pravartaka iti artha. The knowledge acquired by one's own perception and intelligence leads one to appreciate the value of the representative of Lord Krishna. The word Shreyas in this verse indicates that one can advance in life through one's own intelligence. By good association, one should gradually come to understand one's eternal position as servant of Krishna. And then one becomes very eager to live in the company of other enlightened persons. Birds of a feather flock together. The symptom of an enlightened servant of Krishna is that he or she is eager for the company of other such great souls. Thus, by one's sensitive and rational observation of this material world, one shall come to appreciate the value of spiritual life in the association of devotees. So that's it for today. Let me know what you think. Any questions you have, make sure to leave your comments below so I can answer you, or just if you like, just let me know what you're thinking. And thank you so much for your time and your patience. Hare Krishna.